All right, all right, all right. Happy Monday, everybody. My name is 12 Gauge and I am your host. Welcome to 12 Gauge Investigative. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Monday. I know I'm a little early, but I decided to do this a little early so that I can schedule some time later on to hit the gym because, I never know how long these lives are going to go, and I don't want to start at 8 o'clock and be going till 11. And not being able to go to the gym kind of throws off my routine. So I hope y'all understand that. If you're new to my channel, I hope that you enjoy what you see here, what you hear here, and what you observe here. And know that this is a safe place to land for you. There's no conflict, there's no drama, there's no issues with, people attacking you in the chat for your opinion because we agree to disagree here. And if it gets too outlandish, I have some amazing mods that will make sure that the situation does not go too far because we're here to be classy. We're here to be understanding and work toward a common goal, which is to talk about true crime and to be able to talk about it in a sensible adult way. If for some reason you are unable to be an adult and you have childish antics or things like that, maybe this isn't the place for you. And that's all I can say about that. So tonight, I want to indulge the second part of the 4chan stuff that I've looked up and been able to unarchive from my emails, and also to discuss some of the theories that go along with these things. So I hope you guys are ready for the ride because some of this stuff has not been presented lately. So some of it may stir up some emotion. Some of it has a little bit of trigger warning, but not too bad. So I believe that everybody is an adult in this chat, an adult in this stream. So hopefully you will enjoy the presentation. I'm no longer on call, so that makes me happy in itself. That makes me really happy. I will be able to get some sleep tonight after I work out. Let me say hello to people before I go ahead and share the screen. Leslie and Billy, welcome. Lori Markle, hello. Rondé, Chickbait, and I'm sure other people are going to come on in. Allie Brooks was in here for a while earlier, so hopefully she comes back. So here we go. Let's pull it up and let's talk. Okay, this is the first one. Let me get this a little bigger. I will be reading these as we go along, just like I did the other day. This one, Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. It says, "Thanks, Anon. This is so gut wrenching. Maybe you're right. Still, this area must be littered with ring and camera systems, Airbnb cameras and stuff. No, screams I'm at. But this happened over 24 hours ago and still no details. No threat to the public safety. True, crime of passion, Art Bajay Mayor, or property crime gone wrong, Art Bajay Mayor. No threat to public safety, no suspect. I don't suppose anyone has their Insta link to see what was posted recently." Here's number two. It says Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. It says probably a small number. The north-south road in the middle here is the street where this happened. It's very short and very single house apartment on King Road and Queen Road are rentals rented out to Greek life students. So I doubt they're very well maintained or updated. The landowners know very well that these get trashed every year, are used for big parties, etc. Having an Airbnb in this neighborhood would be insane since it's constant parties, alcohol, or drugs. And then they reference um, Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Kernodle. Let me know if you guys can see these okay. Can y'all say something in the chat as far as being able to see these clearly or they're big enough for you to read so that you don't think that I'm making these words up? Because you know how people are. Well, anyway, this says Anonymous. Tuesday the 15th, November 2022. Rumor. It was a disgruntled boyfriend of one of the girls. I skipped this part. If targeted, that could explain maybe so screams. Which girl? Name of the suspect. They say targeted, but they also say property crime gone wrong. The amount of downplaying this horror of this, they're talking like it happened 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, and they're just trying to get everyone to move on already. Not, we'll find the animal that did this. Just, hey, we're just here piecing this together. But oh boy, it looks like the crime of passion that found these dead. Laughing my ass off. So y'all can see these pretty good? I'm trying to make it as big as possible. I know they're small, but I'm trying to do the best I can. Saturday night, or this is Tuesday, November 15th, 2022, Saturday night, Sunday morning, after the home game, every victim witness is involved in Greek life. Assume everyone involved was intoxicated. The only rumor I've heard about who did this is a claim without evidence that it was a disgruntled ex boyfriend of one of the girls in the house. Take it with a grain of salt. I believe there were two survivors, and I think both of them were white. They're associated with a sorority that almost exclusively white segregation in the Greek system is very common and an unspoken norm. We need to find out. The local students union of some shit would go talk about how locking your front door was racist or something. I cannot imagine people are effing stupid to leave their doors unlocked. It says, as far as I know, SUI hadn't had any talks about that, but I don't follow ASUI at all. It is important to note that the three girls all came from this Coeur d'Alene area, which is very wealthy, very white, and had generally low crime rate. Moscow is also generally pretty low crime unless you live in a white Harlem or in the pedo trailer parks. My assumption is that these girls were just naive and thought the world is a safe place, that nothing could happen to them, and that as long as you're having fun, it's okay to do crazy stuff like leaving your doors open and allowing anyone and everyone to treat your home like a flop house. Basically this. I don't think there's a conspiracy going on here, but I do think MPD is handling the situation very poorly. Not the first time they've handled things poorly either. Okay, I'll make this one a little bigger. And please excuse the racial overtone. If you've ever read anything about 4chan, you understand it's sometimes racially, and they use a lot of um, wording that is not in the best of etiquette. So I don't stand behind the wording, okay? This says Monday, November 14th, 2022. At least one of them wasn't. She was found dead with her white boyfriend. that were stabbed to death. Rumor here is that it was a disgruntled boyfriend of one of the girls. This is the part that doesn't make sense to anyone I've talked to. Seemingly, nobody has any idea what is going on other than a generic, it was a targeted attack. This one, Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. I think it's also worth noting that a lot of us assume that the police might be hesitant to release details about the murders for two reasons. One, the details are likely going to be particularly gruesome. Stabbings are very violent and very ugly, no matter how you name it. The community here, even though it is a left leaning college town, is heavily armed, and there is a very strong sentiment toward taking matters in one's own hands. I guarantee the MPD has had internal discussions about how to handle the situation if the name of the suspect get out before they catch him, if they haven't already. And a few hundred good old boys from Politok, Troy, and the part of Moscow separated from the university show up, better armed than the police, and either go looking for the guy themselves or show up at the jail ready for a fight. MPD is generally incompetent, subordinate to the far left city government, and is probably scared of the red elements of the county. So, can you see how this post could have turned into the rhetoric about the good old boy justice burning down the courthouse? Because basically, that's what this says all in one. And this was written November 15th, 2022. This one says Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Oh, Maddie Mogan as well. She has had an OnlyFans too, but I don't have the link to that. So that could have started a rumor about the OnlyFans. I mean, I'm not saying that this did it, but if you're talking about it this early on, somebody got it from somewhere. It said the university has a lot of foreign exchange students. This was Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. It has a pretty big engineering department. There is also another much bigger university 7 miles away in Pullman. WSU and U of I are largely one community together. Pullman and Moscow are about 50 to 60K when school is in session. In between WSU's 20K and Moscow's 10K students, something like 10 to 20% are foreign students. Lots of Chinese here too. I'll be honest, I'm not really broken up about it. I've overheard some people who were at the scene talking, and they didn't seem terribly upset either. Out of vapidity rather than hostility, though. So some of these have been written by people that live in the area. You know what I mean? Let me see. What is this person saying? The 4chan post regarding meetup cul-de-sac parking alongside Banfield was intriguing. With a 19-minute time arrangement, very intriguing in my opinion. Gosh, my nose is itching, man. Had to stay, but I wanted a Big Mac for some reason. I guess you are talking about food. No, it fits a lot. This one says, while I'm not happy these kids are dead, the most likely explanation is that one of the sorority co-eds flirted with the wrong guy or dumped or cheated on her boyfriend, and this is the result. Drug deal gone wrong. Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Let me know if y'all have heard any of these or if y'all knew of any of these early on. Friday, November 18th, 2022. The other two know the answer. I would wager it is someone related, associated with one of the roommates who saw a crime of opportunity and took it. He would have known everyone was passed out, had the perfect alibi for his prints, DNA there, and would have known the layout, etc., and whether any animals were in the house. That's interesting. This one says start. This was Friday, November 18th, 2022. Start with talking to everyone at Sigma Chi party. It is impossible to murder 4 people and not leave some type of DNA evidence that you were there. Whoever did this must have had a personal connection to the people involved. Just think about how unlikely it is to even be able to break into a house successfully without running into a dog or alarm system, and then also killing 4 people in cold blood without waking 2 more. There's no way on earth some random hobo walking down the street did this. What do y'all think about some of these theories so far? We will talk about karma passion here in a little bit. Remind me about that. Okay, here's another one. This one says it just has a picture of Maddie and it says so sad. Friday, November 18th, 2022. This one says Friday, November 18th, 2022. It was me. Friday, November 18th, 2022. A white dude, most likely. Friday, November 18th, 2022 says, I'm surprised none of y'all have alluded to some kind of satanic Molech worshiping group. Those kinds of groups are usually responsible for serial killings, and if another happens in that town or close by, there will be a huge red flag for some kind of scenario like that. Friday, November 18th, 2022. Laminate or other waterproof flooring could cause all that blood to go under the walls and then it could leak out behind the vinyl siding. That room was literally flooded with blood. Friday, November 18th, 2022. It says, depend. Did they have different rooms? If he went in quietly, slit their throats while sleeping, and holding his hand on their mouth, it'd be pretty easy. But it says they were stabbed in the chest, and that would generally cause a lot of commotion, would wake the others. It's hard to believe one guy would be able to do it if that's the case. This says Friday, November 18th, 2022. Obviously, if it was this and maybe some friends, it took them 9 hours to report what happened. Up above that, it says, or one or both roommates decided to kill them for some reason. And they responded, obviously, if it was this and maybe some friends, it took them 9 hours to report what happened. I mean, people were talking about this very early on, you know? And nobody wants to watch this right now. That's cool. It says Friday, November 18th, 2022. Following, that is more than a 5-minute walk from the food truck downtown to their apartment. They might have gotten a ride. That neighborhood are all boomer homes built in the 60s that were converted into off campus apartments. This one says Freddy Krueger or Freddy Cougar. We call him Freddy Panther in 2022. Jeez. Friday, November 18th, 2022. She's cute. If she did it, I'll visit her in prison. So I guess they were talking about Dylan or Bethany. This one says Friday, November 18th, 2022. Drunk college students on a Sunday morning. It's pretty normal to sleep till noon, which is true. It's really true. I mean, how many of you were that person that slept in? The next one says Friday, November 18th, 2022. What were the two survivors Doing during these times? Kind of suspect. Friday, November 18th, 2022 says if two survived, they were not attacked or slept through it, which is impossible. How could they not have made arrests? Yet it's glowing, if you ask me. Friday, November 18th, 2022. If it determines she was killed last, it's worth asking. They might be hiding the sexual assault aspect to preserve the integrity of the investigation. It's just odd that one extremely attractive young girl as the victim for there not to be a rape involved. If there wasn't, maybe the surviving two females need looked at. Unless someone used a knife made for killing, not a pocket knife, kitchen knife, etc., the killer would most likely cut their own palms from the blade slipping due to the force. This one says Roland. Friday, November 18th, 2022. What were Ethan and Xana doing between 2100 and 145? So that's basically 9 o'clock and 145. This one says Friday, November 18th, 2022. I'm a private investigator that has been hired by the families. Right now, I'm setting up a time to interview my top suspect, Grimace. This one's Friday, November 18th, 2022. It sucks, but most people are walking around like deer, not even thinking of their surroundings. Maybe I'm just paranoid, but me and the guys I know have a gun on our desk or coffee table or wherever we're hanging out at home. People get killed off campus all the time. Add in booze and the opportunity or motive. If this was personal, and it wouldn't be hard to do. Probably just as many people walking around who would kill you as there are who would make easy targets. What do y'all think of that one? What do y'all think of that statement right there? Anybody? This one says Friday, November 18th, 2022. She reminds me of the crazy one in The Walking Dead. So I guess they're referring to Dylan again. I've never seen that show, so I don't know what they're talking about. This one says Friday, November 18th, 2022. If that's the case, it kind of sounds like a girl who is trying to kill someone and is weak, and she knows it, but she's on the kill and she want to do what she want to do. So what does she do? Obviously stab a ridiculous amount of times. Overkill just to make sure. Yeah, sure, weak girl, I can't have that much stamina. Well, if you determined to kill someone, wouldn't you push past your mental strength limit? I think there are variables we're missing here. I think it's the two girls who miraculously survived, especially if they weren't raped or anything else. This was Friday, November 18th, 2022. I don't want to victim blame, but have any of y'all ever considered it being the two surviving roommates? No, I've never seen The Walking Dead. So this one says Friday, November 18th, 2022. I didn't snort coke or anything else, guys. My nose is just itching. I don't know what the hell it is. We did a deep dive thread last night on this case, mapping out the house and the neighborhood, combing through police reports and other records. The overall conclusions was that there are multiple killers and they are likely members of the Delgado cartel because they use the same knives. The proximity of the bodies, two per room, makes it unlikely this was done by one person, and the murder weapon itself points towards more experienced killers. Knives are good for silent killing, but you have to know where to cut, and it's likely you take some enjoyment from the killing since you will get blood on you. It would be easy to mess up, resulting in potential escape, screaming, so that makes the murderers themselves, being students or young kids, more unlikely. Additionally, there was a police report about Delgado cartel from the neighboring town not too long ago. So that's another reason they are suspected. The police have made this very difficult to investigate by barely releasing any info. We still nothing we know nothing about the Uber driver or the kid following the two girls in the truck video. We don't know if anything was stolen from the house, etc. I mean, people were working hard to put theories in place, you know? Have y'all ever heard of the Delgado cartel? I'll be right back. Hold on a second. I'm going to play some music. I got to go wash my face or something. It's driving me crazy. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that. It just driving me crazy. It was just driving me crazy. This says Friday, November 18th, 2022, probably at some nearby party. That whole neighborhood is a rowdy college party central, as it was just off Greek Road, but it doesn't have any campus rules, like underage drinking, for example. The next one says if the two girls who survived were directly involved, given the amount of blood, wouldn't they have tracked it all over the house? That or they would be spending a lot of time cleaning up. The next one says, have you ever had a roommate or been a college student? You don't hang out 24/7 or barge into a bedroom the morning after a bender. It's 100% normal to not realize something is wrong with your roommate just because it's late in the morning and their bedroom doors are still closed and they haven't come out. 100%, 150%. That whole thing of they slept till noon, the 8 hours. There must have been something nefarious. They were cleaning up. There were, all this stuff. Most people sleep in after a bender, and you're not going to go barging into your roommate's room, especially if her boyfriend's spending the night, right? You would think so. Seasons 1 and 2 were brilliant. Oh, I guess you are talking about The Walking Dead. This one says women don't like violent murder. They usually poison or some stuff like that. Probably some offended incel at the club who slit everyone's throats while they slept. Wow. This one says Friday, November 18th, 2022. So that's probably why those two survived. Whoever broke in just wiped out everyone on the floor and didn't know about the other bedrooms or didn't care. Friday, November 18th, 2022. Now that I think about it, the murder scene had that much blood. Shouldn't there have been a lot of blood tracked out of the house leading somewhere? Now people are using their brains. Now people are using their brains. If there was that much blood in the house, don't you think it would have been tracked out somewhere? Of course it would have. This one says Friday, November 18th, 2022. I don't know if they're responding to something, but it says, at least my mother won't die in her sleep. Yep, I see the white guy all over this. Lots of rage. Did one of the girls tell him BTFO at the food truck? Also, I don't think it's his first time. However, the first time the trigger came on him so fast. Weird vibes. Look for similar type murders. I see two environments, indoor and park like, and single, not multiple. He likes the prize and the knife. Friday, November 18th, 2022. So four are brutally stabbed to death, and the killer doesn't try to at least enter the other rooms. Interesting thought. Friday, November 18th, 2022. It wasn't an incel white guy. If it was, there would be a sexual assault involved. This was a psycho who somehow got in. Interesting. Friday, November 18th, 2022. It says, I mean, they could have theoretically dressed in full throwaway clothes, gloves, and everything, carried out the murders, and then took their precious time dumping the clothes, taking showers, baths, etc. They might have even taken pictures and selfies in their clothes they had while out earlier that night and before the killings, swapped to the murder clothes from some secret bag or something. They might have gotten assistance. But why is there so much blood? Obviously, unexperienced killers. It's so bad that it ran down the facade outside. Then the murder most definitely went crazy on those victims, almost like panicking, wanting it to end as fast as possible. I can't imagine someone actually enjoying the actual act of murdering someone. And the 8 hours, if they were friends, why did it take them that long to report it? That's the weirdest part. It doesn't make them look innocent. What do y'all think about that one? Does that sound like somebody who's thought the process through? I guess you are still talking about The Walking Dead. Anybody that's not talking about that and heard that, does that make sense to you guys? By the way, hit the like button if you're enjoying the stream, or the dislike button. Um, yes, I believe that is why BF is not mentioned in the PCA, because if BF is a material witness, her statement would not be used to arrest BK, in my opinion. Me. Okay? That's an interesting one right there. It gives a lot of details there. Maybe they've been a killer in their former life or something. Friday, November 18th, 2022, it says, I read that broads upstairs also locked their doors that night. I wonder if that's a regular occurrence since it's apparently a party house. What do y'all know about that? Do y'all do y'all know if those doors were locked? If those doors were locked, how did the killer get in? The idea of them taking selfies. Yes, exactly. Hey, y'all been busy working in classes. Well, glad you're here. You said scroll up. How far? Says, I wonder if any of these talking were in the house to see the blood. Is that the one you wanted me to see? That's interesting because they keep talking about a lot of blood, right? Friday, November 18th, 2022. It said on Fox the surviving girls lived on the top floor and the murders were on the first two floors. So that's wrong because the surviving girls were not on the top floor. Those were the girls that were murdered. There was two that were murdered on the second floor, and one lived on the second floor, and the one at the bottom lived. So that's wrong. This one says Friday, November 18th, 2022. It's just my theory. If this is true, then anyone had access to the house. Someone mentioned the two who live on the third floor always kept their rooms locked because of people always coming and going. So possibly the killer was in the house already and was caught red handed rummaging through the panty drawers of one of the victims. Interesting. Here's another one. This one says could be a neighbor, someone on the street, peeping Uncle Tom, for example. Not every house has some prime. Yeah. Even having the key for a big party house like that place couldn't be hard. While I personally don't like ring cameras, I think they must be brilliant in helping solve some of these more random type murders. I think the name is on the victim's phone and probably several. As for the other girls in the house, what the hell do you think two naked 19-year-old women will do other than pee themselves and hide under their bed? Very good theory. This one says you can never just clean up that much blood, especially not drunk and certainly not with the supplies on hand. If one of them paid a visit to a store to buy cleanup stuff, but no, they're not part of it. If plan maybe could have gone to little Lizzie Borden, but that's unlikely. Odd question, but is this house near a border? Like county, state, Mexico? That's an interesting thought. And I was thinking after I read this earlier, I thought, that's an interesting thought. As much as I've thought about this damn case, of course, if they cleaned it up, they would have had to have records of all the cleaning supplies that they bought from somewhere. So they would have had all that cleaning supply in the place. How would they have gotten rid of it so quickly? Somebody would have seen, you know what I mean? Like that, it would have been hard to clean up that place. This one says ring doorbells. Why hasn't that been brought up? You would assume in this day and age, in a place like that covered for multi-use living, and there were ring cameras to most of the entrances. Allow Zillow and on. Do you have any info on the ring? Whether they had ring cameras installed? Why has no one even brought this up? November 18th, 2022. November 18th, 2022. King and Queen Road have a creepy vibe. Admittedly, I avoid that area, but the rest of campus is really nice. And Idaho as a whole is the only reason by Montana in terms of natural wonder. Friday, November 18th, 2022, it says, or his rage could have been exhausted. He realized he'd stepped outside what he believes in his organized method of operation and he snapped to and got it out. Did he clean himself up first? I've never asked you guys this, but do you believe he cleaned himself up before he left the house? God, is my nose peeling? 12 gauge. Do you remember the kid whose dad owns a cleaning company? Yes, I do. That was one of the 4chan, the one on the 4chan post, one of the frats. So, um, do y'all believe that he cleaned himself up before he left the premises? Friday, November 18th, 2022. They're fully cooperating with the investigation. Do they look cunning and clever to you? Because that's been stated too. Like, you know, they're cunning and clever and they'll get the cop to believe them and their story. It's kind of hard. Wouldn't you suspect? Friday, November 18th, 2022, it says, I am sure it will start coming out in days to come. This will probably be the next down the hill mystery for a while. And this talking about the Delphi. This one says, odds are the killer was already in the house by way of one of the victims. The two survivors could simply have been left alive because the killer worked like a switch murderer. i.e., instantaneous, animalistic, impulsive, and didn't further examine the rest of the home. Interesting theory. This one says Friday, November 18th, 2022, they were killed by revenge. They did something bad in the past, some sort of provocation they thought never would happen. They laughed it off. Now they're all dead, beyond reality. They will never experience life again, ever. Wow, that's creepy. Let me see what Jar's saying. I think BK had a murder kit and used something to cover himself from blood, then disposed of the evidence somewhere. So people disagree with me, but I am calling friends before 911. I would see kids that same age calling me. Yep. It's okay for people to disagree. Your your thoughts are still valid. Just because TikTok claimed the tarp will be easier to find than the knife, disrobed on tarp and bundled it up before leaving, allegedly. I agree, Aquarius. In my opinion, Ellie have way more evidence than the public know. We will be shocked when it comes to trial. No doubt. Something tells me you guys watch too many psychological horror movies that involve stalkers. Friday, November 18th, 2022. Saturday, November 19th, 2022, it says it was drugs. Jack was the dealer bringing it in from Portland. They stiffed him, and the cartel came to collect. Interesting. Friday, November 18th, 2022. Could be where one of them picked up the stalker. A customer, one of them caught his eye, and he started planning his next move. I think they were talking about the Mad Greek on the one before this. Saturday, November 19th, 2022. They released a photo of the perp caught on the ring cam. Y'all ready for it? I tricked y'all. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it because I did take a screenshot of it. Let me see where it's at. I don't know what it is with my Gmail, man. It's like, oh, here it is. Found it. Now I have to go forever to find the freaking things. Here we go. Y'all ready? There it is. There's the image they found on the on the ring cam, which I doubt this is the one because the date down here doesn't match. But that's an interesting shot. It looks around Halloween though. The ghost face. So yeah, thought that was interesting. They caught him on cam. Here's the. It says anonymous. Saturday, November 19th, 2022. Look for older white male ex-military raised by single mother or abused in foster care. Single, possibly divorced. Prior domestic violence, animal cruelty, stalking, low wage worker, possibly campus maintenance or landscaping. Unlikely to be apprehended until he reoffends. And that's an interesting statement right there as well. I was wondering if Ellie was onto Brian. And don't get all upwind because you're thinking I'm being a guilter by saying this, but he is in custody, right? I wonder if they were on to him early on and they were watching to see if he was going to reoffend. That's a dumb theory, but I would wonder if they were possibly surveying him to see if he went around the house again or anything anything interesting, but it just doesn't make sense in my brain. I thought I would just throw that out there, you know? Another thing I think people forget, BK was criminology student, far from stupid, evil but not stupid. He had prior knowledge how to carry out a murder. Who saw a suspect view and try to park unsuccessfully outside of 11-2? That's not on Linda Ling. In my opinion, is that a witness report? DD driver, BF out her window. It could be any of those. I mean, I'm going to show you some stuff here in a minute that's going to blow your mind that was being said. Um, oh, you put your knife down for the picture? Good, good. What happened to your friend Truth Exposed, the lady on your panel? I don't know what happened to her. Risky to let BK ride across the country without it with his dad. Yeah, I mean that sounded dumb as soon as I said it, so that's why I didn't really keep going on with that. Um, Saturday the 19th November. Everyone needs to shut the f up with his insane cartel theory. It's beyond blank. And there's that picture again. It doesn't have a date on it, but it says 9/11/18 p.m. So we know definitely the crimes occurred later than that. So that couldn't have been the picture. This one says they never said it was a knife. November 19, 2022. They never said it was a knife. They said it was a sharp blade. The killer could have walked over each one of them while sleeping, passed out drunk, took an axe to their throat, killing them almost instantly with very little sound. I tell you, people have some vivid imaginations when it comes to this case. Like, I mean, says November 19, 2022, the killer was someone who knew them. It was most likely a crime of passion, probably done by an ex or a jealous stalker or some type of love triangle. It's not a serial killer. It's not cartel. This one says Saturday, November 19, 2022. Not easy to knife kill four people by your lonesome. The whole shit reeks of foul play, maybe a police murder. Ah, so this is a mentioning of the police corruption here. Interesting. Saturday, November 19, 2022. They later came out and called it a Rambo style knife. Clearly meant to intimidate, in my opinion, unless it's a serial killer living out a combat fantasy that was meant to scare the shit out of people enough to keep them quiet. This one says Saturday, November 19, 2022. A crime of passion is most likely no drug dealer would murder four people in a small town. That's asking to be caught. Drug dealers are generally so it just in case of killing college kids over drugs and money, he'd probably have left a bunch of evidence. If it was somehow related to drugs, why the fuck would you do it with a knife stabbing them while they slept? Shit's unheard of. This shit seems premeditated and for personal reasons, not some weird drug hit. I agree. I agree with that. Saturday, November 19, 2022. If they were doing coke, they would be wide awake at 3 a.m. So yeah, people were saying that they were doing cocaine. You know. Let me see where I left off over here. Let's not call names in the chat, okay? Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these are kind of wild. Absolutely. I appreciate your thoughts and theories. I really hope the truth. Yeah, let's not attack anybody. Like I said, this is a safe place. So, you know, If you don't believe in something, it's okay not to believe, all right? We're not going to attack each other just because you don't believe it or because you've heard in some other channel something different. You know, you're free to believe as you wish. Adults don't attack other adults over their beliefs. Children do that. So let's not be children. This is November 19th, Saturday. Like I said, if they were doing coke, they would be wide awake at 3 a.m. So I don't think they were doing cocaine. Saturday, November 19th, 2022. I find it hard to believe the boyfriend slept through all those missed calls. What do y'all think about that? Do you think that Jack really slept through those calls, or do you think he had his phone off, do not disturb? I found a 4chance regarding DM allegedly being wasted and thinking she saw a shadow man. Yeah, I saw that one earlier. That one's interesting. Do you think Jack slept through his phone calls? There's gonna be a rumor spread. Watch. 12 Gauge was doing coke online on his live. He kept wiping his nose. November 19th, 2022. Well, so now we're claiming one of the girls was killed in the kitchen. Or we're speculating that because of the alleged blood under the kitchen window. Not saying that it wasn't blood, but it isn't the kitchen window. Okay, let me turn this off. Just haven't seen definitive proof statements regarding either. So this person's talking about the kitchen cabinet with the liquid that's going down the side of it, and people were speculating that that was blood. The kitchen cabinet near the refrigerator. Um, Also, it's been confirmed that whoever the girl's name who repeatedly called Jack, who is her ex-boyfriend, tend to do that drunk dialing stuff. Reason there were other calls from a second phone is most likely because she wanted to see if he'd answer from a different number. However, in my opinion, it does lend a little credence to whatever theories are out there that involve drugs. As I too would want to blow up the coke plug at 2 a.m., degenerate, but calling them multiple times is much more of a female behavior. Guys usually just in a few texts. At the very least, it makes me believe that the girls possibly do coke. And if that's the case, it opens up an entire can of worms into what could have happened. Obviously, we're going to jump to cartels and such, but I've known plenty of white dudes who are just major coke players and B, wouldn't 100% murder four people over something gone wrong. Just my thoughts. Also, someone mentioned some Pajit live stream in the last thread. Is this a meme or something actually relevant to the case? So I guess they were talking about the live stream that supposedly um, was showing the murders. November 19, 2022. That drone footage is interesting. In fact, it showed, for what I can see, absolutely zero blood exiting the house. Is it feasible for the persons would have quietly approached each girl, done what they did, moved on to the next one, and then exited without dripping anything or even really getting any blood on themselves? I know from skinning deer, pigs, that blood seems to dry really quickly on hands, especially when it's cold. But that also makes me think they use something more like a razor blade, not some probably dull and shitty Rambo knife. Could be wrong though. Oh my gosh. Can't look at it right now. Live. Saturday, November 19th, 2022. It says, I don't believe that at all. It takes a certain amount of self control to not crack and keep a fake story straight during questioning. especially if you're guilty of something, leagues about anything else you may have ever done before. They'd be nervous, wrecks with adrenaline pumping, they'd fuck it up. This one's interesting right here. Are y'all still with me? Is there anybody in here? Oh my gosh. Nobody wants me until I'm live. I swear. Here we go. Here we go. Saturday, November 19th, 2022. It said check out Instagram profile. The Moscow Slayer commented on victim's account. Weird name, claimed to be Navy SEAL Team 6. Collects Spyderco folding knives, had ghost wear face watch, has pirate jack flag and Navy trident patches. Maybe important because victim called an unknown person called Jack 6 times that night. The knife used in the killing was most likely a K-bar. K-bar is a fixed blade knife, 11 inches overall, 7-inch blade, single edge but with false edge on back. Two versions, regular edge and a partially serrated edge, leather handle, metal crossguard, metal pommel. Older versions with pommel was screwed on now that are pined. Blah 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 blah. This person's going on and on and on and on. So it says um, some blades are marked with Navy symbols are for collectors. Regular versions around $80 available everywhere. Large knife to carry. So look for someone with long jacket or backpack. Police put out profiles saying this guy is a pseudo commander type guy in full or partial kit. Before the killing, the college had threat on campus. Guy with folding knife in black. I think also a hoodie on a bike threatening kids with his knife. Was confronted. I believe turned himself in, but might have been released. We don't know. So it could be the same person. The knife from the killings has not been found. Go to work. Poll, find the knife, save the city, win the big prizes. The sheriff is an idiot. Enforce mask mandates. Arrested parents, and one victim was from Coeur d'Alene, where kitted up friends are from who protected city from Antifa, and where their sheriff conspired with the Fed to arrest Patriot Front. This one could be political. Keep that in mind. Be safe out there. Moscow is very liberal and could harbor non-friends, animals being killed and skinned in the area. Sounds like practice killings or Satanism. It's a satanic temple. TST or Order of Nine Angles active in the area. Scream movies not to be ignored. Might be a fan. This dude went on and on and on. He's like, wow. Saturday, November 19th, 2022. Probably had his phone on silent, especially with all the bullshit spam calls. My phone is on silent 99% of the time. Tell him what he won, Gina. So, this individual, Saturday, November 19th, 2022, he got it right. His phone was on silent, according to the PCA. What do y'all think? What do y'all think? Anybody? I wish y'all could like be on a voice thing. What do y'all think about that? Bro. Saturday, November 19th, 2022 said they weren't asleep. They were pretending to be asleep. The boyfriend wasn't asleep. He just knew what was up because he was likely involved. She blew the money on a car and couldn't pay up. The dude didn't want to cover for her. Two other roommates also know more than they're saying. They probably let the guy in or just didn't want to get involved and hopefully give more info once everything settles. They weren't asleep. They tried to pretend they were. Wow. Well, this is just talking about the wound. It says if you're carotid or jugular or slashed open, it would only take a few seconds for your blood pressure to drop and you black out and die. I've never seen it done to a human, but seen plenty of cows get their throats slit. I've also seen wild animals bleed out from poorly placed shots, but that takes a while. Saturday, November 19th, 2022. It says can't go to the street view. This is a satellite image. Appears to be in a forest. So this is the coordinates of a poem that was written with these coordinates, and it was talking about flowers. Let me see if I can find it right quick. Hold on a second. I'll read it to you. Give me a second. It says flowers, leaves, and butterflies. Here's a sight to soothe your eyes. A mini forest outside your home. You might even find a gnome. And that was circulating around social media. And it also gave coordinates. And people were thinking that the coordinates were where the knife was buried or where the evidence was shown. I don't know if y'all remember that or not, but that was a very hot topic very early on. Do y'all remember that? And here's the coordinates right here. This is where it led to. Supposedly, this is where you would find a gnome. And this was in Garden City, Idaho, I think. So this was very, very hot material very early on. Very early on. And there's a drawing about it. Here's the King Road house. Here's the coordinate to that poem. I don't know if it ever been looked into, if they ever found anything there. I don't know. There was an alleged rumor of the weapon being hidden in Garden City where there's a huge gnome outside a shop. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right now. So what happened with that? I don't know. You didn't hear any more about it. Just kind of swept under the rug. And there's another Google Earth um, photo of possibly where these coordinates lead to. This says Saturday, 19th November 2022. Is the killer in this thread dropping coordinates of something he put there? Well, and that was Maddie, supposedly in her OnlyFans. This says Saturday, November 19th, 2022. It says serial killers usually target individuals that are easy prey and vulnerable. There's usually other murders in the area with similar modus operandi. My guess is that this was a crime of passion, a professional hit, or a robbery with the foreknowledge of valuable items inside. The two women who were up there should be investigated because I bet they know something they aren't telling. Bro, I don't want to buy anything. Quit calling me. Saturday, November 19th, 2022. To be clear, the evidence for a drug dealer theory is one girl bought a used Range Rover, and two, they're college kids, so they probably use drugs. Is there anything else at all? Nobody has put together these people's social circle, so we don't know who else would have known them. Supposedly, the absent exes and boyfriends have alibis, but we don't know what those are. And I'm going to take a pause for a minute. You know, make this a little bigger so y'all can read it. Okay, this says, how would OnlyFans relate to drug dealing and moving so much product that someone would murder four people to send a message to other dealers? How does that make sense at all? There was an alleged rumor. Yep. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So let's move on to the other one. It says Saturday, November 19th, 2022. It might be a good place to hide a body at the edge of the woods. There between two roads. I doubt there's a weapon there, though, because those are a lot easier to chuck in a pond to get rid of. If they're messing if they're missing people with the age range of these college students, it would be a body and we might be looking at a serial killer. Most likely just a LARP, though some random posting anonymously like the rest of us. It doesn't have to be a serial killer. It can be a jilted acquaintance, stalker, or local zoomy incel. Stabbing is dirty, intimate work. Selecting sorority girls and a young couple, then killing them quietly in the night. It's not something cartels do. They were not woken up, tortured, extorted, intimidated, or any of that other type of interaction. This was a cowardly thing by somebody who was not confident enough to attack them, alert, awaken the victims. He likely ran off after one of the defensive wounds started to fight back. Someone blabbed their mouth about holding a large amount of cash. Someone may or may not have been acquainted with, overheard, followed them home, and used the keypad since it was well known by many people. The use of the keypad is a decent lead because someone who may have recently shared the key could lead police to the suspect. It's not exactly something you would want to admit, though. It helped lead to their murders. I thought that was interesting. This was November 19th, Saturday. I've never even thought about that theory right there. What do y'all think about that? You think that they were discussing a large amount of money and somebody overheard it and then they went back to rob them and ended up killing them? That's an interesting theory there. I've never heard that. I think that's the last one on that thread, anyways. Let me move on to the next one. Yeah, that is the last one. God. How y'all doing out there? Y'all still with me? We're an hour and 12 minutes in. And y'all enjoying the presentation, I hope. Hit the like button if you are. Okay, this one says Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. I hear he used night vision goggles. So that's an interesting one in itself, wouldn't you say? To even say such? Okay, and I'm gonna explain the garden one because I had to go and find this because it was bothering me. I hate that y'all can't see it. Maybe that's better. Okay, this was talking about the poem. It said the answered garden and a mini forest, in other words, as known as a grove. We can find this ironically on campus and is formerly known as the Idaho State University Arbitrariums. I'm sorry, but it's a little too much of a coincidence for me because where it links, it stinks. And this crime wasn't done by someone overplayed, outdated bullshit, make believe 70s and 80s style serial killer. That profile is so washed up and wrong. The killer isn't going to be like the most obvious. He's going to be the most confident, the one who's everyone's favorite. He would be front row, stand up guy, outgoing and a bit egotistical, but plays it off well. Because everyone will always blame the weird kid. Because being outgoing and even turning yourself in for an interview, for instance, would just be too obvious to the basic programmed mind. Like, who does that, right? Not that guy. He had too much going for him, and everyone likes him. He's smart, but also charming and has a way with the girls. His friends think he's a women magnet. Besides, his parents are probably within the legal system, maybe even a judge or attorney. Maybe not. But he will always be nobody's first guess. Even with the red flag moments, he will still be brushed off in those instances and life will go on. Garden and of those are the keys. Gnome also holds some solidarity as well. Go ahead, try me. Look up what the gnome is, and then look up scouts and gnomes in the history of the University of Idaho, Moscow. Weird how this all fits. But this is just speculative. And here's another one. It says, some guy claiming to be Fratanon showed up today. Here's what he said. They're going to get away with it because nobody is asking the right questions. That night was the culmination of what had been building. It is not the entire frat, but enough of them know. JCE, at least that's all I can say. What happened that night wasn't just about the conflict at the party. The roots are deeper and involved a wider range of people. There's a fairly tangled web of relationship, but it can be unraveled. Someone asked, is the web that led to the girl Bridget and her friends close? And Fratnon says, it's close. And here is why this was really a hot topic. Inside Looking was supposedly Brian Koberger. It was never confirmed or denied, but um, that's where all this started. So this was a post that supposedly this individual posted. It says, flowers, leaves, and butterflies. Here's a sight to soothe your eyes. A mini forest outside your home. You might even find a gnome. And then they had the coordinates. And there's the post. Sunday, November 20th, 2022. And here's the coordinates right here. And they were trying to say in this whole theory that the garden was Garden Avenue where the Steptoe apartments are, where Brian lived, and that's where the garden, where you might even find a gnome. Interesting stuff, huh? I don't know what happened to all this theory, but when it was hot, it was hot. Do y'all remember hearing about this? There is a lot of theories out there. But y'all remember hearing this one? Do y'all remember hearing about the gnome, about the garden, about the coordinates? Someone wrote all over 4chan like a day or two after the murders, sage, 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 over and over on a post. So mind blowing. December 18th, 2022, it says, um, I may have had some so far unheard info. While my wife's work Christmas party last week, my wife was talking to a coworker's wife who is roughly the same age as these girls and from Moscow. We're all from and live in Spokane, but lots of our coworkers are from Moscow area. Anyway, the coworker's wife brings up that she knows the victims and survivors, and that the rumor circulating the friend group is that one of the girls went upstairs that night and made eye contact with a stranger on the second floor. Dude was just standing there motionless, staring back at her. Creeped her out so much that she just turned and went back to her room and locked the door. Not sure why she would keep this from the police, or if she didn't, why she would keep this info from the public, that they would have a description. Unfortunately, my wife relayed this to me on the ride home, where I would have been able to pry for more info. So this was something that was really early on as well. I remember hearing about that. Do y'all remember hearing about that? This one is interesting too. I read this one today. I've read it before. Says your buddy with a buddy here. You can expect redacted 911 call and redacted body cam footage of Dylan and Beth Wednesday. That is the same ring audio I heard, except cleaned up a little. The owner of the ring cam must have released it against PD wishes. Maddie was killed first, followed by Kaylee. Xana says to Ethan, there's someone here. Ethan heads up the stairs to investigate, sees Brian mangling the girls upstairs. Brian, come look. Ethan, F you. Brian, F you, I'm gonna kill you. Ethan runs in the kitchen to escape or grab a weapon. Still unclear, but there's some disturbance near the kitchen knives, including a knocked over plant and a broken fume vape cartridge. Brian goes directly into Xana's room from upstairs. That is Ethan shouting Xana. Xana apparently stays still until Ethan returns to the room and is immediately overpowered by Brian, neck wound. Brian tells Xana, it's okay, I'm here to help, and kills her. Once he's no longer in danger, he mutilated Ethan and walked out right by Dylan, believed due to exhaustion and the length of time we had already been in the house after the first disturbance. So all this stuff was being spread early on, even before the PCA. So how did people know all this stuff? This one says um 11/20/22 Sunday. Police are hiding just how gruesome the crime scene is, but you see there more than they're letting on. First, there are cops now seeking therapy saying we are seeing things humans should not see. The coroner also said some strange things. When asked about how many puncture wounds there were, the coroner said it's wrong to call them puncture wounds, and that the killing blows were mostly blows to the neck, but each victim was stabbed multiple times. That implies slashing and potential mutilation. Moreover, investigators on the case have said they've never seen anything like this in their 30-year career. In the first few days of this, there were tweets about how there was stuff written in blood about the girls all over the walls. And that's what led police to think this is a targeted, not to mention the bleeding on the outside of the house. They also brought in FBI very quickly. I think this scene is way more gory than they're letting on. It's not just ordinary stabbing. There's something more going on here. So I guess that's where people instantly start saying, you know, all the things that they say. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just reading it. You make up your mind if you've ever heard this compiled with other stuff. I mean, then you can really tell where people got it from. Here's another one. This one was, it doesn't say, but this says, oh, okay, it says 12/12/22. Guys, I'm proud to introduce you possible murder accomplice, Bridget. And then there's a picture of her. It says, I don't think she did the murdering per se. Most likely stayed on the lookout because they're going to need people to keep lookout, right? And if she's friends with Dylan, it would make sense why they left Bethany and Dylan alone. Uh-oh. Dylan bros, we've hit a snag. Accomplished Bridget is friends with Dylan. I missed it though. Why is there speculated to be and at the bottom of it? Y'all remember Bridget at the very beginning? Y'all remember hearing that name? Hello, everybody that's coming into the chat. Thank you for being here. And this one I presented the last time, but this is a clearer picture. This was November 20th, Sunday, 2022. It says, some schizo anon posted two pics like this on earlier thread today. Looks like a girl in the second story bathroom at 3:10 a.m. the night of the killings, right around when the murders happened in the same location. The killer might have been in all these threads. But people have said that's been debunked. Do we really know if it's been debunked? Or do we know that people have debunked it because they want us to believe that it's been debunked? This one says 12/30/22. This one's pretty horrid, so if you don't want to look at it, this was the one where talking about, hanging the intestines and I'm hiding in the woods in shithole PA. Good luck catching me. Holy shit, does this confirm murderer was posting in these threads? Very well could have been. This one said, who said he was awake all night? This was talking about Jack D. Who said he was awake all night? I said three other guys and myself corroborated his location because of the four of us were awake all night. Okay, so you watched him sleep all night? What time did you go to bed? Jack is Idaho killer. After killing girl just after 2 a.m., he calls himself 10 times. First call at 2:26 and last call at 2:52. Coroner said death was sometime after 2 a.m. and likely were asleep when attacked. Broken-hearted, love of his life called 10 times, but he never called back. Baloney. 11/22/22. If y'all are still on here, y'all press a 1. Y'all press a 1 if y'all are still here. If you're enjoying it. Not really enjoying it because there's some gory details, but if you're if you're seeing some stuff again for the first time or 10th time, this one says, I have it on good authority. Cousin is a cop in blank, but called in to help in Moscow once school started back up. Apparently, the investigation is looking directly at Sigma Chi frat party Ethan and Dana attended from 8 to 9 that night. He did not have any update on their timeline after they left from 9 to 1:45, but did say it looks like the investigation is honing in on two suspects from the party that night, and an update should publicly name them by the end of the week. Sigma has made their socials private and removed all info from Facebook going back a few years. They believe Ethan and Dana were the main targets stemming from an argument that night. Downstairs survivors could hear two males rummaging through the room above them. Figured it was an after party, locked the doors, and went to bed. When they discovered them in the morning, about 30 minutes before the 911 call, you see that? Said about 30 minutes before 911 was called. They called their friend, the Sigma, to come over, who had in turn called the police. It's right across the street, and for whatever reason, they believed it was the people from Sigma upstairs around 2:15 that night. Back door was left open, one dead in bed, the other blocking their room's door with their body. Police just updated their Facebook to reiterate they are not looking into the activities of the night, only the murders, which to me suggests something went on, fight, drugs, etc., that spilled into anger later that night and got them killed. also didn't want to release profiles they created as it would cause undue fear in the community, i.e., Greek life. More coming shortly. See, if I was gonna be looking at something, that sounds like probably what went on. I mean, if I was gonna be looking at something else, but I mean, you know what makes me not believe this is other creators that have diluted stories like this, where they've amped it up so much that it's unbelievable. But this reading this right here, it's like, okay, kind of sounds like something that we've heard other people say, but I've never heard about the 30 minutes before 911. Never heard that before. I did hear about this. Downstairs survivors could hear two males rummaging through the room above them. Figured it was an after party, locked the doors, and went to bed. But do you see how a lot of this people can read and make up stories to collaborate these stories to make it more sensationalized? This one says, I have to watch him sleep in order to know he went into a room and then we never saw him come back out. Y'all need to get a life. We have a camera at the bottom of a second floor window facing out the back, and he wasn't on it leaving, and nobody came by us to the exit out of the front. Oh, so now he wasn't in the living room with you? Very interesting. So this was someone talking to one of the four that gave Jack D the alibi, supposedly. So if they got a camera at the bottom of the second floor window, what else did that camera see? How far down did it face? Did it see cars coming going down King? Could it see that far? Was it that clear? This one says, I believe we're paying too close attention to Kaylee and Maddie. All been cleared around them. We've heard nothing about what happened at the Sigma Chi party with Xana and Ethan. Trust me, something did happen. There's a reason Sigma Chi's Idaho Instagram went private and all Facebook posts have been deleted back to 2018. This person followed them back from just a couple blocks away and watched. The survivors were already downstairs and in bed. He saw Kaylee and Maddie come home. He waited until they all went to sleep, not knowing there was two downstairs. He went in a raid, then killed the four and left back out the second floor sliding door. It's pretty simple. Now, will they find them? That's what happened. Go to Sigma Chi. And this one says, I've always thought from the beginning that too much was being looked at with the two girls being the target, when really it was Ethan or Xana. We haven't heard anything about those two others that were there at the time of the killing, I think that says. So this one says outside looking. There was two there was two profiles. There was inside looking and there was outside looking. And you know, you realize that some of the Reddit stuff is, I can't tell, am I either BN, right? I don't know who BN is. I don't really care. I didn't write these and I'm not trying to push a narrative, so it doesn't matter. I'm just reading some of the stuff that, could show some light on where some of these other theories came from. That's all I'm doing. This says body discovered. A surviving roommate summoned friend to residence because they believe one on the second floor victims had passed out and was not waking up. According to Ethan Chapin's mother, bodies were found by a friend who does not live in the house. This one says first responders arrive. First responders discover four individuals who were deceased. Ethan Chapin was found on floor of second level. Two victims found on second floor, two on third floor. Officers describe a bloody crime scene, especially in the upper floors of the house. Fire and EMS were also on the scene but did not go into the residence. or transport anyone out. And this one's something that was around really early on. People were speculating this was the killer, and this was the white launcher or whatever vehicle people wanted it to be, I guess. Being an adult is hard. So I don't know what that was about, but pretty interesting. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on here that, people have embellished and used at their own, and I'm not doing that. I mean, I want that to be clear. I'm not reading these so that you can feel that I got some inside information or whatever, because this has been around since the beginning. So it's not like something that's new. It says, I'll go by Grady for this post. I was a full time law enforcement in bigger city for over 10 years and went on to start a different private investigation companies over the last decade. Friendly advice: you guys need to think a little more Seven, Zodiac, and a little less Clue or Scream. The victim did not know the killer. It's a serial killer, one who had done this before. The father, Steve, knows this, alluded to it on the Fox interview from a few days ago when he said that he learned that it's not just his family and the other Idaho victim families, but even others were finding out there's even more than just my daughter and these children that have suffered. This was obviously not in terms of the defund the police movement he mentioned, but that in reference to this case. He said he had had private investigators reach out to him with new info. He was frustrated that law enforcement did not want him to share it. This info from out of state private investigators was how they had been working on the other similar murders in Washington and Oregon, and this is the same person. The dad, Steve, is frustrated about the police not wanting him to share this info. I would suspect, with the amount of screen time he has been given and with his growing frustration, that he'll announce that very soon. The police do not want to officially link the other murders to this case yet. They can lie in the course of their duties if they think it will help with the investigation. That's why they said a vague statement about how they did not think the other murders were related at this time, but they are. That's why they have something like 30 FBI profilers in Idaho in this, not just agents, profilers. For a handful of ex boyfriends, food truck guy, jilted friend, or stiff drug dealer? No way. They know it's none of them. And this guy has struck before. They have no clue who it is, but they have expanded their investigation to another states for sure. Ignore their official statements about those other murders. They have to say they're not related at this time. Imagine the circus. This has been debunked. I know I saw this the other day, and this has been debunked. Um, Dream on. A gentleman was escorted out of the bar that was creeping on Maddie and Kaylee on Saturday night. I thanked him for sharing the info with me. Sorry if this may conflict with some of the previous reports, but I'll share what I get and it's not detrimental to the case. Everything else I've relayed, he says, hasn't changed. Find the masked guy. So I've read where the Corner Club had released a statement in a newspaper stating that this never happened. I don't know if it happened or not, but I've heard this at the very beginning a lot. It was going between, it could have been Brian Koberger, it could have been, I mean, I think people were even saying when they found out about Hoodie Guy, it was Hoodie Guy that got kicked out. They were putting a lot of people in on this case. November 29, 2022, some tidbits for you to think on that I got in my conversation to follow up to the ring camera. Ethan was at a date in a dash Saturday night where one frat, one sorority get together and mingle. I guess Ethan's date was his sister. Xana and Ethan kept to themselves and reserved, super quiet, and keep to themselves. A detail was shared that I won't share that was done to a victim that says targeted. I do not know that victim. Strongly believe that LE have a suspect and are waiting for them to fuck up and lead them to a key piece of evidence or leave town to make this case stronger. The kid that went in first for the 911 call were more than likely did see some bad stuff. The unconscious person topic is cover for the dispatcher not saying murdered or dead body. Not seeing any blood, they have reversed course. Multiple kids saw some shit, I'm told. So this part right here, a detail that was shared that I won't share that was done to a victim that says targeted. I do not know that victim. This goes with something that was out there very early, and I want to talk about it, but I don't. It just it's awful. It's the worst part of this whole. I mean, the whole murders were awful, but this part right here, if that's true, what happened to one of the victims, and it's none of it's the male victim that it happened to. So very early on, there was some stuff said about the male victim that happened that were just atrocious, man. That's awful. And that's why they said it was targeted because of that incident. But I don't know if that's true. So I don't want to spread it out there without having one of these to lean on. That way I'm not saying it. You know what I mean? I just answered this. I've been lurking here for a while, and this is why I've been hesitant to say anything. People aren't allowing for nuance. Yet the police did say the roommates summoned friends because they thought someone was unconscious. From what my friend told me, secondhand info alert, they were concerned Aunt Xana had hit her head, but they weren't sure, so they tried to find Ethan. When they couldn't, they summoned his friend looking for Ethan. I don't know how the rest played out exactly, but what has been reported, it appears this friend went over to the house, and I'm assuming here found the bodies. I may be taking some liberties here, but to me, that would imply they couldn't see Xana. If they could, I would imagine they would realize that her wounds were far more significant than just hitting her head. What they heard that night before was crying, a thud, and someone saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." That supports the hypothesis that somebody might have fallen and hurt themselves. That's interesting. DM was not cleaning the house. According to friends who were there after the police arrived, this is a second-hand info, not fact. BF heard the thud and texted DM. DM went back to check on Xana, and that's when she saw the man in black. She went back to her room, and when she was sure she didn't hear anyone else, she went to Xana's room. The bathroom door was open, and the light was on. They believe he took a towel from the bathroom and wiped his shoes and a knife and wrapped the knife in a towel. I had heard that at the very beginning as well. I remember hearing that. I remember hearing that. Well, if it didn't, it didn't. I mean, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. I heard from someone who knew the victim that something happened at the frat party as well. Did they elaborate on this? Unfortunately, they did not. I will say this person was very convinced that the frat party had something to do with it. This was the day after the killings, and the person is still very well connected to the University of Idaho. I wish I had more info. First, I heard was that it was likely a former frat member who was stalking and creeping on one of them, may have been in the military and ROTC. Also, what the perp likely was in a tree before entering premises. I don't know what to think. I just have one question to to the individuals that have more info or the info of the real crime. Have y'all reported it to the proper people? Did y'all call the tip line? Did you call the FBI? Did you call all those people to report what you have? Because if you haven't and you're sitting on stuff and you're just talking about it, how does that not make you an accessory to a crime? That's what I want to know. If you have all this information, but you've never turned it over and you're more certain than not, you know who did it or the puzzle piece that led to who did it, and you're not doing that, why not? Letting you all know this because I've been following this for a week. I've been brainstorming with a friend of Xana, and now we believe that the killer was a man wearing all black and a mask. My source comes from Dylan, who she herself said that she saw him quickly outside her basement window and he didn't see her. She ran to the bathroom because he was scared. She was scared, but I don't think she knew the severity. Multiple friends have also said that Kaylee had been stalked 5 weeks ago at Winko's and that there may be footage there. And also, Kaylee again got stalked while walking her dog Murphy. And then, to top it off, weeks ago, the sliding glass door at the house was found open. I remember this. The killer seems to have treated this as a hunt. Everything I've found, I've forwarded to the tip line. If there's like any and all information that you want the authorities to know, I've been piecing a timeline of events since Sunday. Initially, we did not know whose blood we saw leaking out of the house, but after much research, I'm sad to say it was most likely Ethan and Xana's. I remember that one. And it matches a very early report I read from a neighbor who witnessed that early activity and saw a cluster of women standing with first responders, blankets draped on their shoulders, leaning in, hugging, and crying with each other. You have a link that's pretty detailed and sounds interesting. I looked and looked and finally had to give up. Sounds like a lot of people on here. You got a link? Yeah, I got it. I had it, but I can't find it. Sounds just like that. Or, do you have it? I thought you had it. You're the one that had it. I know this detail about the blankets is what stood out in my memory. I would say it was within the first 24 hours when we were still wondering what could have happened, and the names had not been released in those early hours. I think I was just looking at the Facebook pages of our local newspapers here. I've been told the stalker was messing with cars and Wi Fi, and it could be even more. I didn't ask for details on what he did, but the police didn't react. I'm told because no harm and no damage. I remember this too. No, but I'll try to get the answer this week. Kaylee, Dylan, and Bethany, I'm told, all saw him. I don't live far from the crime scene. Didn't know the victim, but one of the first rumors I heard from locals was drugs were involved. Something about missing fentanyl pills, and I think someone compared it to the Wonderland murders at one point. The very early local rumors haven't really been off the mark, in my experience. I also learned the victims' names and that it was a stabbing before any of that was confirmed, with the chief now clarifying the residence was targeted, not necessarily an individual. It kind of makes sense. Matches what I was told as it relates to how they saw Xana. No blood, and ran downstairs and called the police right away. I was also told that night while the friends were out, Ethan got into it with someone and told them to stop hitting on the girls and being creepy. I assumed he was at the bar and it was about Kaylee and Maddie, but that message to me could be about Dana and his sister at a fraternity gathering. Just sharing what was sent to me on Monday after the murders. Interesting to say the least, and thanks for sharing. This is my theory, but after nearly 10 years of military investigations experience, here's what I think things stand. I believe the police have already talked to the killer, and I believe that the killer has likely only one person in their corner who has falsely confirmed their alibi, wittingly or unwittingly. That would be enough at the time to clear the actual killer and would explain why the police are saying they've cleared everyone and why the prosecutor stated yesterday that they have no individual suspect or persons of interest. This case is going to break open when a small piece of evidence causes the police to refocus their efforts on a person who has been cleared, and then it will go back to the one person confirming the alibi and really start pressuring them. Think. So you only heard a door shut? You actually didn't see the suspect come home, correct? I think the person confirming the alibi is likely a roommate or a close friend who was either taking a risk for a close friend or unwittingly falsely confirming an alibi based on a good faith belief the killer was actually where he thought he was during the murders, in his room when he really wasn't. Yeah, I've already read that one. This one said, don't know if I should post this, but I'm originally from Moscow and most of my family still lives there. Yesterday, someone I know still lives there called me and told me they had just spoken with the police. Long story short, he works with a guy who had for months been wearing a hunting knife to work on his belt. And he forgot his sheath, right? And was asked not to bring it to work anymore. And the guy made a big deal about it, refused and continued to wear it to work. Then, after the murders, he no longer wore the knife to work. When asked by coworkers where the knife was and was asked to produce it, he refused and threatened to sue for harassment. In addition, this person was known for being punctual and not missing work, and would even come in on days not scheduled. And the day that week after the murders, he was no call, no show to work. And lastly, the night of the murders, he was in the vicinity of the food truck the same time the victims were. The person I know said that the person in question has given off weird vibes the entire time they've worked together. Supposedly, no one on the crew likes working with him because of his weird behavior. Maybe it's a lot of coincidence, and that's because I'm not going to publicly name him, but the police seem very interested in this info. Hopefully, it will lead somewhere. I'm told neighbors heard the dog barking from approximately 3 to 4 for your information. My opinion, let the dog out, do the crime, leave the door open, and dog goes back inside. The dog is barking outside because he can't get back in. Dog was in the home when the police arrived. What I meant was that he was gone, NCNS, starting the day after the murders and continued to be no call, no show for roughly a week. He has since returned to work. I don't know what, if any, reason was given for the absence. The person I know had been somewhat suspicious since he returned back to work. And then yesterday, or could have been the day before, he nonchalantly at first brought up the murders, and got the guy to admit he was at John Daly the night of the murders and was at the food truck at roughly the same time as the victims. Then he was asked about the knife, which he had worn every day for months and months before the murder, and upon returning to work was no longer wearing it. Asked why he no longer wore it, he said he didn't feel like it. Then he was asked where it was, and he said it was in his van down by the river. So the person I know then said, great, go grab it. Let's see it. After which the guy exploded and threatened to sue. The person I know said the entire interaction was just bizarre and the guy was acting especially weird. So the person I know called the tip line after work, was transferred to a detective who appeared to be very interested in the information. That's about all the detail I have besides his name, but I will not say it. He had the same name as a very famous baseball player. Derek Jeter? I don't know. Jack Showalter. Jack Showalter is the guy at the food truck, not a stalker. He walked there with the girls, and it's on video of him walking shoulder to shoulder with Kaylee. Jack S. is Facebook friends with Maddie's boyfriend, Jack S. Jack S. and Jack S. both went to the same high school together. I think Jack was keeping an eye on for his buddy who was 5.5 hours away. Also, Maddie and Jack S. followed each other on Instagram. Jack was also in Xana's TikTok. Joe Vito was there that night and said this about Jack S. The man acted like a dutiful guardian and possibly had amorous intent. He was funny, he was nice, he was there to ensure they got home safely because they were super drunk. I thought he was a solid guy. Believe me when I tell you that his vibe was not bad, he told the publication. I don't want to read all that. And I never knew about it. I don't know what this photo was about. I remember seeing it a long time ago, but I thought that might have been like just somebody she knew, somebody being extra friendly. I don't know, you know? This one was pretty crazy. It says, go and walk in the grass near high schools and colleges looking for block parties. I look young enough so people don't really notice me when I walk into the party. Immediately find the bathroom, close myself in without getting noticed, take a very cartoonish bite out of the soap bar, teeth marks and all. About 60% of the time of all the homes have a bar soap instead of pump soap. I spit it out into the toilet to flush the evidence. Peek through bathroom door to make sure nobody sees me leave. It may take several minutes before it's safe to leave. Rush out of the bathroom, locate frame family photo of the people that live in the house to smuggle one more for my collection. Grab a bite for the trip back. Free food and also a good way to remove the taste of soap. Leave without a single confrontation. I've been doing this for a while now. Sometimes I hear people discover the soap before I leave the scene. It's hilarious. No way I'm showing you the family pics because it would give away too much info. This is the only real thing I enjoy about parties because they're obnoxious and loud. And I got no friends. I've gotten used to the taste of soap, and the shock from people about them bitten soap never gets old. Well, until recently, I've been thinking about incorporating something else into my visits. Any ideas? Also, there's a pic of my latest munch. This bar was pretty new, which make the bite even better. And that concludes all that. Crime of passion. Crime of passion just means that potentially there was somebody that was either rejected or they were upset because they didn't get the desired result. A lot of it came from the initial Jack D stuff where they were recently broken up. They were trying to, when they look at the boyfriend and the people closest to the victims, they try to incorporate some kind of link to all the people involved. So um, that's why they put the crime of passion stuff on there because they were trying really hard to say Kaylee was the victim, which in my eyes, all of them were the victim, regardless of who was first. They all got the same fate. And I know why they were trying to solve who was the victim because that would have specified who was first and who went from then on out to kind of clarify the motive. Well, I just saw this thing that said motion for defendant to wear street clothes to all public hearings filed 9/23/2024. So y'all might look that up. It says Brian C. Koberger by the through his attorneys hereby Mr. Koberger is attend all public hearings in street clothing. This motion is based on the Fifth, Sixth, Eighth, and 14th Amendments, the United States Constitution, and the articles in the Idaho Constitution. So apparently, he's no longer going to be wearing a suit, at least to the public hearings. If you don't believe it, go look it up. Not here to prove anything to you. Which is funny to me because I don't know. It's just such a weird case. After reading all that stuff, it's just insane how it even started from all that to where we are today. No, it's murder. It's murder one. So, you know, I hope that this judge makes this to be more congruent with the regular trial and stopped with all the BS, stopped with all this sideshow that's going on, and gets on with getting where we need to be, which is the trial. Because you know what? If this guy is innocent, let's get him on down the road and let's find out who did it. If he's guilty, let's get it on down the road so the appeals can start, so we can go on with our lives. And so these people who are more than certain that there's not any evidence or all that other BS that people spew out. So they're happy for once. So they don't have to be so mad all the time when they're trying to prove other people wrong. It's almost like people have such an attitude about, well, I got to be right, so I'm going to spew all this information to because I'm going to prove to you that you're wrong and I'm right. When it comes to that, in my eyes, it doesn't make a hill of beans to me what you think or whether you think I'm right or wrong. I don't care about Mr. Koberger. I really don't. I don't care about him. I know there was 4 people that died, and those are the most important people in this whole case, and all the people that were affected by it. You know what I mean? So that's all that matters to me. As far as Koberger, if he's guilty, he's guilty. If he's innocent, he's innocent. Move on with it already. Let's get it on. Let's get going. Let's let people have their moment of glory, their 15 minutes of shame, or shame, not shame, or 15 minutes of fame to show that they were right all along, all these years that they've spent researching this crime, that they finally were the ones that solved it. I wonder who gets what kind of trophy for that. Wonder if you get a trophy or a ring or even if you get any kind of way to go. I don't know. So I really, I enjoy presenting these things, but as far as all the other BS, I don't enjoy that. I really don't. I think it's dumb to sit here and argue. Not really argue, but to present stuff that at this point it really doesn't matter one way or the other. We're not in the crime. I mean, we're not in the trial. We're not in the trial. We're not going to be the character witnesses. We're not going to be any of that. I enjoy talking about it, but that's as far as it goes. You know, just like the other day, what I said, what I said. It's like I lost 6 people because of my live. I'm sure I'll probably lose 20 more after this one. I've always said it. I stand behind my beliefs and I don't lie. I'm an honest person. What you see is what you get. I can tell you that what I present is a lot more clear than shadows and things in the bushes and all kinds of stuff that people want you to believe. I mean, if you're into all that, hey, keep at it. It's on you, boo boo. It's on you. Whatever floats your boat. Whatever floats your boat. But you guys, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I really do. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope that you saw some things that maybe you haven't seen before. Maybe you saw some things that you forgot that you've seen. Maybe you read some things that you didn't know really were around. You know what I mean? So It is what it is. I wanted to get that done so I could get to the gym before it's too late. But I do have to ask this question. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? If you can't dig it, get yourself a bigger shovel. Get yourself a bigger shovel. Maestro, why don't you cue that music?